that decision. But mining was not the only work in the 1860s. Right? There was also railroads. Right? Railroad work began in earnest during the Civil War. Once the South had left the Union, it was possible for the nation to agree on a route. While Southerners were still in Congress, they couldn't decide whether the route should go through the North or through the South. Once they had left, it was easy to decide a route through the North, starting in Chicago. So railroads did require a considerable amount of labor, and the question becomes, well, why were the Chinese allowed to do this? And one of the reasons is that it isn't really very much fun. As you can see, there's a picture taken from probably one of the 2 winters where the Chinese labored on the Central Pacific Railroad. Because of the way Congress structured the rewards for building this railroad, time was very important. Right? The way they worked it was that the Union Pacific would start from the east, the Central Pacific from the west, and they'd lay rails towards each other. And in addition to, as you laid the track, the company would gain ownership of half of the land surrounding the railroad tracks. And so instead of being paid directly or subsidized directly, the United States government issued land. The idea was, well, the railroad would make the land more valuable, so that was going to work, and it didn't cost. They didn't have to raise taxes to do it. They didn't have to sell bonds. They had plenty of this land, so that was the idea. But so that meant that the faster you laid the track, the better off you were going to be. It also meant that laying the track through the mountains was a drag because the land all around it wasn't going to be terribly valuable. You might be able to log on it. That's nothing like land, say, through Kansas, where you could farm. But it meant that the Central Pacific was in a hurry. So they dug tunnels. They kept laying the tracks right through the winter, even though it was very slow and very expensive and very unpleasant. During 2 winters, the Chinese labored to build the tracks through. They were digging tunnels through the mountains, laying tracks and blasting things with dynamite. They even had to, in many cases, they had to tunnel from where they were camped to where they were working. They had to tunnel into the snow. So it was, pretty unpleasant. Even when the weather was good, it was still pretty difficult work. So, aside from the railroad building not being terribly pleasant, there were some other important reasons why the Chinese were allowed. Remember, in the mining, it was very easy. It was at least possible for the white miners to exclude the Chinese from the work. So they could have, at least in theory, have done that in railroads as well, but they did not. At first, as I pointed out, the railroad jobs weren't very desirable. But second, the railroads were indispensable for mining and agricultural interests. So even the miners realized that until there was a railroad, their work was going to be much less rewarding. Once there's a railroad, you can take away some of the ore that they're digging out. Without railroads, it's a bust. So again, the Chinese are indispensable. Even within the railroad, though, the Chinese labor was also good for white labor, and that's a little bit more subtle. Because the Chinese were excluded from skilled job titles, they were never made supervisors, for example, even though they certainly did skilled work. That allowed any whites who were employed by the railroads to rise in the organization and become supervisors and better paid. So, once again, a situation where the Chinese are an indispensable, exploited enemy. And finally, there was the role of capitalists. The only allies that the Chinese really had in politics were the railroad tycoons. They recognized that they absolutely needed Chinese labor in order to make this work. Because remember, before the Transcontinental Railroad, labor is very short supply on the Pacific coast. To get here, you either have to climb over the mountains or you have to take a boat and either cross the isthmus in Nicaragua or else go all the way around. So it's hard to get labor. Charles Crocker claimed that using the Chinese saved the Central Pacific $5 million. But in truth, it was much more than that, because without the Chinese, he couldn't have done it. He couldn't have built the railroad. He couldn't have built enough of the railroad to have a viable business. The Union Pacific would have probably gotten all the way to Sacramento, and then he wouldn't have had much of a railroad after that. So for Crocker, for the Central Pacific Railroad, the Chinese were indeed indispensable. Takaki also spends a lot of time talking about agriculture. This is also going on about the same time, and particularly after the railroads. Because after the railroads, California agriculture becomes more valuable because it can be shipped to the east. But Takaki talks a lot about the conditions of agricultural workers, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, except to remind us that agriculture in California doesn't start out the same way it does in Pennsylvania. There really aren't a lot of family farms. It really starts out with big agricultural interests, and part of that is because of the timing. And by the time California's open to do agriculture, there's already a lot of capitalism in the world. There's a lot of the markets are big, and the technologies are advanced enough that you need capital to do these things. There's also, in much of California, as you know, a need for irrigation, and that too requires capital, and that means that there are big advantages to big business. So agriculture is already, most of a lot of land is controlled by a relatively small number of people in California. Which means that farming isn't great. It's not the kind of thing. Earlier in history, immigrants can come to the U.S. and do that rural to rural migration thing. In California, that's not really ever much of an option. So that brings us then to the manufacturing era. And this era really begins in the 1870s and 80s. This is after, of course, the Transcontinental Railroad comes through. That changes everything. Before the Transcontinental Railroad, it's pretty easy to make money by making stuff in California. You've got, there's just, because labor is short, but there's very few competitors. If you can make anything, you can pretty much sell it. And particularly during the gold rush, miners are famous for paying way too much for everything. I think the story of Levi's Blue Jeans is one of those. But after 1869, with the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, things can start coming in from the east. In the east, as we talked about before, there's more capital-intensive manufacturing going on. They know how to make boots and shoes with fancy sewing machines, for example. They can make most things cheaper. They can make them on a larger scale, and they can ship them to California. So that sets up a division. In California, in San Francisco, let's say, if you work in an industry that cannot be exported, that doesn't compete with imports and exports, and an example of that would be the building trades. Right? You can't build a building in New York and then ship it to San Francisco. So the plumbers and the bricklayers, carpenters, those sorts of trades, those sorts of skilled trades, are very much protected from things. So there may be an influx of labor, so they may have some additional competition, but they're not facing competition, broadly speaking, the way the manufacturers are from goods coming from the east. So they also control. So by controlling the apprenticeship, they can have some control over the flow of workers into their trades, and so they are very, very successful. The other segment of the industry, local manufacturing, shoes, boots, and particular cigars, which turned out to be strangely more important than we would think today. The opposite is true. Once the Transcontinental Railroad appears or is complete, it's very hard to make to make stuff and sell it. They start to make money by making stuff. Like cigars, this guy doesn't have 6 arms, but he's clearly working hard anyway. One of the pathetic strategies applied by whites to defend their industry was the white label. You can read that. It says, "This certifies that the cigars contained in this box are made by workmen of the United Cigar Factory of America and is guaranteed that none but white labor are employed thereon." So this was a label on the back of some cigars that were made in Western New York. So part of the reason this pioneered this idea of the white label, so-called white label, was pioneered in San Francisco. And the idea is that cigars contained are made by white union labor, and white labor is almost synonymous with union labor. And so that's a way of putting some premium on these cigars that can't compete on price anymore with the Chinese-made cigars. But the problem with the strategy is that there's lots of white men outside of San Francisco that can make cigars too. So it's not a terribly successful strategy. Other similar strategies were also employed. Can you see that? Can you see that picture? This is called Bouncer cigars, and it's from 1861, so it predates the white label business. But you can see that these guys are kicking a Chinese guy in the pants. In the end, all these strategies fail. By the 1870 or so, about 80% of cigars in California are made by Chinese labor and increasingly by Chinese-owned businesses. This is not a very capital-intensive, doesn't have to be capital-intensive business. So Chinese not only become the primary labor source, but they also start to control the businesses as well, which is one of the reasons that Republicans become a little bit concerned, or start to become concerned, start to capitulate to the Democrats' view of the Chinese so-called labor problem. So let's turn now to politics. We won't get too far into this story, but we'll finish it on Wednesday. This is a cartoon, I'm pretty sure also appeared in Harper's. And take a look at this. Much of this, I don't know how much of this is visible. As always, these really nice cartoons don't really show up so well. But you see the comet up here? Can you read what that? That says cheap labor. And the head of the comet is supposed to be a Chinese guy. There's the Q is a clever little play on Chinese hairstyles at the time. His head looks like a comet. And what do you see here? These are all telescopes. You can see one of them says capitalist, right? One says the press. Let's see, all the other ones say. But you see the notion of cheap labor in the form of the Chinese coming across, and all these people are looking at it, wondering what all these different interest groups are looking at, and wondering what exactly to make of it. And there are quite a few. There's the Know Nothing meeting, also something about trade union meeting as well. Okay, so the cheap labor issue is one that separates Democrats and Republicans. It's a little more subtle than just low wages versus high wages, because being a wage earner is not something that people generally aspire to. So in the Republican ideology, you might start out as a wage earner. You might start out when you're young working for other people. But if you're a good Republican, a good, frugal, industrious person, as you mature, you'll gain skills, you'll save your money, and soon you'll hire other people. So there's a sort of life cycle aspect to it, right? To them, to the Republican way of looking at it, cheap labor was a kind of an economic resource for everybody. Having cheap labor around meant that there were more opportunities for businessmen. It would help grow the economy. Now, Democrats didn't see it that way. They may have seen it in sort of they were either they were looking at it more short term, or they were responding to the views of unions who saw cheap labor as something that was competing with not only with unskilled labor, but also potentially with skilled labor as technology improved. And so there's a separation. There's a division between the Democrats and Republicans on the role of cheap labor. After the Civil War, as I have said, Republicans are in charge, right? Democrats are very, very weakened. So in 1868, William Seward, who was Secretary of State at the time, sends Anson Burlingame to China to negotiate what is known as the Burlingame Treaty, which we will have occasion to mention again. And within that treaty is this: the inherent and inalienable right of man to change his home and allegiance, and also the mutual advantage of free migration and immigration of the citizens and subjects respectively for purposes of curiosity, of trade, or as permanent residencies are guaranteed in the Burlingame Treaty. It also even goes on to say that the privileges and immunities of citizens of the U.S. will be conferred on Chinese. It's a very liberal and very Republican document, right? So this is immediately after the Civil War, at a time when there's already considerable anti-Chinese agitation on the West Coast, but the Republicans are comfortably in charge, and they are driven more by, I would say, ideology, in that an ideology of equality. They really do want to treat the Chinese, and they want to treat the Chinese fairly, but also the business. Their business leanings are towards cheap labor. So this is a very, very consonant with Republican ideology at the time. They want to welcome Chinese immigrants. Remember, this is still a year before the completion of the railroad, so they've got railroad interests in mind as well. But as we'll see, they will step away from this once the politics heats up. Yes? Well, that's interesting, because they actually say, I believe the wording is that they guarantee the same privileges and immunities, but not the same rights as citizens. So I think the interpretation, it was certainly clear to them by this time that the Chinese were not eligible to be citizens because of the Naturalization Act. So they couldn't, by treaty, simply grant Chinese citizenship rights. They couldn't. They could not, by themselves, overturn the 1790 Naturalization Act. But they were certainly encouraging them. They wanted them to come. They felt that cheap labor on the West Coast was an unambiguously good thing. All right. Okay. Why don't we stop here? We'll pick it up right here on Wednesday, and we'll see the Republicans decline from their high-minded position into a more corrupt position, just like the Democrats.